We are now working with, in the same lamad earth directory, file called conversion HTML. And again, some code already existing there. It is the same that we had before, but I replaced the texture with the one that looks more like planet Earth. And I made a small modification just now. This previous draw sphere function that was making the red sphere before, I renamed it to draw a dot with a fixed radius that is quite small, and parameter is going to be the color. So I'm not just going to have a red sphere, but I can make with this function any kind of color, small dot, and I can give it the location, because note that our draw earth function doesn't have a location. It draws it by default in the center of the screen at 0, 0, 0. But this dot, I want to draw it where Tuusniemi is, for example, or any given location. So I will need to give it x, y, z coordinates in OpenGL where to draw it. It will not understand latitude and longitude like we do. So we will use this draw sphere function renamed to draw dot to put stuff on our Earth. So the only modification is this position of the dot is not going to be 0, 0, 0. It's going to be given as another parameter, and it must be in XYZ form. Okay, we begin by introducing Tuusniemi, which is going to be needing latitude, latitude number, I think this is good enough, and longitude number, that should be good enough. And we need to make a function that does the conversion from WJS to XYZ. And we will have here WJS location, which can be Tuusniemi or anything, but we saw before that it's not enough. We need to give it also the radius of the Earth, because otherwise we don't know where this location is referring to. Is it on the Earth? Is it in the Earth? In space somewhere? We just have degrees, and that's not enough. We want to put Tuusniemi on the surface of the Earth. Okay, and what do we have here? Well, we need to put a placeholder for our result. Let's call it XYZ, and it's always a good idea to initialize your variables. So I'm going to put it at 0, 0, 0, and let's see what the true values are going to be. If you remember what we did before, we saw that the y value of this location is going to be the sign of WJS location dot lat, so we use the latitude from there, and multiply it by r. So that was what we did. Then what we did was we used a temporary variable for the small r. And that one, okay. And that one was cosine of the location lat multiplied by big R. And then we moved to calculate x and z, and x was the same as y, but using small r and the longitude, and z was same as the x, but with a cosine. And now I want to return this xyz object which contains all my coordinates there. So simple function for the conversion. Let's see if it works. So I'm going to give it wjs to xyz of Tuusniemi. And I mentioned I want to give it a color. Let's put it red, as before. So, will it work or will it not work? I save the file, refresh the page, I go to where Tuusniemi should be. There's nothing there. So, yeah, something doesn't work. Okay, this wjs to xyz needs also a radius, not just the location. I forgot about the radius. Again, I'm going to give this scaled value of the radius of the Earth so that it fits into the screen. I'm going to save it, refresh. There is a dot. So that's now how small the dot looks like. And it seems to be on the surface of the Earth, like half of it is inside the Earth, and half of it is on top. But Tuusniemi is not here, so we made some mistake. Actually, we didn't really make the mistake. We just ignored one aspect. What are coordinates measured in? Yeah? Sorry? Kilometers. No. This WJS coordinates are degrees. So the degrees, how do you measure degrees, like angles? You have the typical degree, but you might have heard of radians. Okay. These functions that we have written here, sine, cosine, from the math library in JavaScript, they don't work with degrees. They work with radians.
So you should make times 60 or 360.
So times
360.
360.
Sure.
Actually, it's times math pi divided by 180.
Okay.
Now I could do this here, but this is not very good programming. I'm going to write a function called degree to radian. I'm going to put here degree and write the conversion function. So I'm going to say, like you kinda knew there, return the value of the degree multiplied by pi and divided by 180. So if you don't remember this conversion from math, look it up. You have degrees ranging from 0 to 360, radians ranging from 0 to 2 pi. And yeah. Okay, and here instead of just calling, pasting this multiplied by and dividing by some strange constant there, I'm just going to convert all of these values with our one function that we just wrote. And I'm going to save the file, go back here, refresh, and it works. I think this is quite a big tool near me. It's yeah, but location seems accurate. Now I want to show you one more thing that I did off screen, and it's very, very important. I don't know if it's very important, but it's important, otherwise it wouldn't work. In my draw earth function, I rotated it in the y-axis by minus math pi divided by 2. This is extra that we didn't have before. If I comment this out and I'm going to refresh the page, this is not 2 near me anymore. The reason why I had to do this artificial change is because these pictures don't start at 0, 0. These pictures, these textures, start at some location that it is offset by exactly this much. Why?
How do you know?
How do I know?
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
Okay.
Why it does that is actually aesthetic reasons. Of course you can, okay. Of course you can just copy this endlessly if you want, and have a very, very long map, what usually Google and other things are doing, so that you can scroll to the right and it simulates coming back to the same location again. And the question now is, where do you want to cut this map when you display it to the user? Do you want to cut it here? This kind of doesn't look good. People decide to cut it here because it maximizes the amount of land in the central area of the map. So cutting it, for example, here, the center map, center part of the picture where people tend to focus their attention on, there's nothing there. Well, it's Australia, but it's covered, surrounded with nothing. So because of that, people decided that this is how a map should look like in general, and that's why this fake rotation there is needed for my app to work.